So in Chapter 121, we got more insight into the most mysterious cadre of the Monster Association, and that is the evil natural water. So I want to be talking about him in this video. First, I'll go into all surface non-spoilery stuff, and then I will give you a warning when I am going into spoilery stuff. So first of all, it is said he is the most mysterious member. I mean, even the dialogue gives us that, but we could just read for ourselves that we don't know what's going on with this thing. I can't even call him a guy because he's just water. So it appears that he is just literally sentient water, which means that the supernatural monsterifying abilities of the One Punch Man world can also affect inanimate objects. Let's go more into him. So apparently, Giro found this thing because Giro has like power scaling abilities, more or less. She could sense powerful beings out there. That's also how we could assume that she found all of the other cadres, and then in her journey searching for powerful people, she came across the evil natural water somehow. And apparently even she had difficulty dealing with this thing because it's said by that monster in chapter 114. They'd have to like stuff it inside of like this glass box and essentially just put it in storage because it was like in a safe. So this thing wasn't even like in the initial plan to go against the S-class heroes. Like we saw that the other cadres were set up strategically. This thing is kind of just reserved. It's like a last-ditch effort. If things are going sideways, then you just tip over the glass box and you pull this bad boy out, and you basically have like a wild card, super powerful asset on your hands. It also has fish inside of it, and these are monsters, of course, and they're the Mad Dr. Fish and their disaster-level tiger. And apparently these things act independently. They're not controlled by the evil natural water. They kind of just exist together, and they're cool with it. They have a quote-unquote symbiotic relationship. And aside from the fish, its main method of attack is a high-pressured water jet, which is just shooting itself, essentially, at you. And this thing is super fast and super powerful. Like, E-Iron and Child Emperor are just barely able to dodge this, and it's powerful enough to just pierce right through E-Iron's sword, like a clean, circular cut right through it. So this is pretty indicative of how water jets are in real life, because if you give them enough time, they can basically cut through almost anything, like metal and things like that. It's pretty impressive considering that it's just water. Now, in real life, it takes like 40 minutes or something to cut through a block of steel for the water jets, but in this, case with the evil natural water, it's instant. But that's pretty much all that we know right now. So I'm gonna have to go into some webcomic spoiler stuff to accurately break down what this guy is all about. So if you don't want to know what's going to happen, I suggest you check out now. So Child Emperor pretty much considers the evil natural water to be the most powerful cadre. We also have that classic mistranslation where he says the Monster Association's most powerful water, but it's implied numerous times by him. He also suggests that everyone just focuses on taking it out first, and then afterwards focus on Black Ass. So that's pretty telling of how powerful it is, and also considering its performance and how long it lasts and what it eventually survives, which we'll get into. But let's break down in depth what this thing exactly is. So Child Emperor says that the evil natural water is a heart that draws water particles from the air and materials to replenish itself. That's pretty broken. Because typically, like when we see regeneration abilities, it's coming from the surface or it's coming internally. But this thing essentially has an unlimited supply of regeneration. If it can not only just pull from the air, but also materials. That's really unlike anything we've seen so far. Its attacks and shape-shifting will most likely stop if the heart is destroyed. So it's not necessarily invincible. But the heart is also, of course, made of liquid. And Child Emperor even tried probing for the heart in his initial fight with it, which he lost, and his weapons couldn't find it. And he basically concluded that physical attacks like striking and piercing are useless against it. So going further, the water shot out by it has no will of its own and returns to regular water. So it's not going to be able to like follow you once it shoots a jet at you. It's not going to change direction or anything like that. And the main body's water content decreases with every projectile it shoots. And as long as the amount of water it shoots out exceeds the amount it absorbs from the air, its body will keep shrinking. So it's not absolutely broken, but it is still pretty overpowered because it's using its own body as ammo, and it essentially doesn't have unlimited. So in theory, if it keeps shooting you, it will become eventually its heart, like its original form. But Child Emperor tests this hypothesis later on, and it doesn't really work out. Because it doesn't increase in size once it just starts spamming its jets at them. So I guess that means that it could just regenerate faster than it depleting itself as using ammo. So if you're thinking well, then how do you take this down? Maybe if you just shoot it with fire or torch it or something, or even vaporize it, that'll take care of it. Well, Child Emperor thought the same thing, but then he concluded that it's likely that it can recover faster than it can be burned. So if you're torching it or vaporizing it, it's just going to keep pulling moisture from the air and materials and stuff and just keep coming back faster than what you can disintegrate it. Which, like we talked about earlier, with it not decreasing in size when it spams its streams, I think that kind of confirms that theory that it's almost unbeatable. Almost. You really need to go above and beyond in order to take this thing out. It's not going to be easy. So the water jet itself, it is quicker than the eye can process and has a higher piercing power than bullets, which is pretty evident. We kind of saw that earlier. And the only way to dodge this jet is by predicting its target. But the fire rate is even faster than what he originally thought, and keeping up with it is nearly impossible. So we saw that E-Iron, the top A-class hero, can dodge it, and Child Emperor, who has the physicality of a top A-class hero, can dodge it as well. But it's kind of implied, since this dialogue is coming much later on in this arc, that it gets faster, since he says that it's faster than what he originally thought. So I suppose that it is true, and that you kind of just have to predict it. You're not going to be able to just catch it on the fly with your reflexes. It's that fast. I mean, a My Mask at first can't even dodge this thing. It shoots his arm off and it shoots through his chest, further showing how powerful it is. But it's not unbeatable. I mean, Tatsumaki can swat away the water jet. She can also blow it away completely. Using her Esper power, she can just pretty much make it nothingness. I mean, not kill it. It can also shapeshift. It can assume this dragon-esque form, which is pretty cool. And then it could also just get gigantic, which we'd assume it just can pull even more moisture from the air and materials and just increase its size to become almost sizes like a building or something, maybe even a skyscraper or something like that. It's pretty big compared to Saitama when we see it at its max form. So going deeper into the psychology of this thing, it's said that it moves in reaction to the emotions of others, but it doesn't move freely, and it only bursts in hostility. So it's barely self-aware at this point. And then finally, it's one of the very few monsters who can legitimately survive a strike from Saitama. We don't see exactly what Saitama does to it, but it looks like he punched it. And then he just reduces it to its heart form. So yeah, if you're as strong as Saitama, you can pretty much neutralize this thing. But even that is not completely taking it out. So when it's just in its heart form, like what Child Emperor was talking about, it's still powerful enough to nearly kill an A-class rank 35 hero in air. He throws a boomerang at it and he just shoots through the boomerang and then shoots through his neck, and he's just his little water heart at that point. But it is eventually taken out by Pig God, who just literally eats it. But even while it's inside of his body, it can shoot jets out through Pig God. Now, how Pig God's able to survive this is another story, but he is eventually destroyed completely once he's digested by Pig God. But yeah, Evil Natural Water is super unique. One of the most interesting villains, monsters I've come across in battle manga. And I really like the way that one plays this character out, because he can't speak for himself. So he just has Child Emperor do all the exposition for it. I really like how he brought this all together. And, it just goes to show that one is just awesome, and that, you can't really judge characters just on the surface. Once you get into the real nitty-gritty of them, you see that it's pretty fascinating. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you think about the Evil Natural Water. How do you think it's going to play out in the manga? And if you liked it, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.